Hi everybody, welcome to the PM Love channel where you can hit the like, you can hit the subscribe button because I quit nursing. This is part two because a lot of people said it wasn't really clear what I was trying to say about nurses and nursing, that they needed a little bit more of an explanation. That's the feedback that I got. So here's the explanation. In 2022, I was working at a nursing home, and long story short, an older nurse decided she wasn't going to reset my password and told me to look at another nurse credentials to get the information that I need to take care of patients, which is a problem. That's not how it's supposed to go. That just creates more problems, creates more issues because another nurse was not there, didn't show up for a couple hours. Nonetheless, in those couple of hours, me and an IT guy started going back and forth over the telephone. And at the end of the telephone conversation, he said he was going to come up to the facility and kick my butt. Now, this is Detroit, deep in the heart of Detroit. When somebody said they're going to scrap you and they're going to fight you, they mean it. So I left the facility. I told my organization, I told the people I was working with, and I left because I'm not about to take no chance with somebody whooping my butt over something as stupid as login credentials and passwords, right? He was trying to be funny and say that the lady who locked me out had the right to lock me out, and why was I calling him, giving him a hard time, asking him to help me, basically. End of the story. So in 2022, that company, same company that I communicated with, same company that I told I was walking off the job, decided that they were going to report me to the board of nursing for walking off the job. That's all I did. Walked off the job and refused to provide care because I didn't have the credentials necessary to do so. The lady had locked me out. And that's something that people do in Detroit when they don't like you and want to give you a hard time. Keep in mind, this is Detroit, where things can escalate and get violent quickly, right? So that was 2022. Since 2022, I have not walked off of any job. Since 2022, I have not failed to take care of any patient. As a matter of fact, I moved to a whole new state, and for months and months on end, I was giving rave reviews about my patient care, about my ability to care for patients, about my ability to educate patients. So I had to quit that job for health reasons. The manager was making comments about how she didn't want me working and all this other stuff. So I resigned from that job with no problems in patient care, with no reports of poor patient care, with no walking off the job, just like every other job that I've had since 2022. There was not ever another report issued to another state board of nursing saying that I walked off the job. So if we are living in the present and looking at the present said that that was a one-time incident that happened years ago. What I have been facing is a bunch of nurses trying to be facetious, rummaging in my past, looking for dirt, being suspicious of me or wanting to hold me back and using that as an excuse. The present, which is the last 3 years since 2022, shows you the type of nurse that I am. As a matter of fact, a whole nother board of nursing, other than the Michigan State Board of Nursing, granted me full privilege to practice in over 21 different states. And like I said, I had been practicing until this manager started running up on me, making threats about how she didn't want me working because of this, because of that, and it all had to do with my health. It didn't have anything to do with patient care. It didn't have anything to do with me neglecting patients. It didn't have anything to do with me walking off the job, just like nothing else that I've done since 2022. So what I'm confused about is why nurses keep living in the past, why nursing home administrators, why people at the hospital keep digging up this past when a whole nother board of nursing in the present, this present year, has granted me the opportunity to practice in spite of what happened in 2022. That's the long and short of it. And like I said, it does not make sense. It's discrimination, basically. To sit around and have a bunch of women cycling in the past, living in the past, instead of focusing on the present. It's what's going on now that matters. And what has gone on now in the last 3 years is what matters. And what matters is you see a nurse who has had not one issue of walking off the job or failing to care for patients in 3 years. That's what you have. That's who I was before the guy threatened to fight me in the first place, because I hadn't had any incidents before then. So what I'm running into is a vigilante group of nurses trying to be facetious, a group of nursing home administrators, a group of people in the hospital who are failing to recognize the past 3 years. And that is an example of a nurse who deserves to work. And they're holding jobs against my head, saying that I'm a threat to their organization because of something that happened in 2022. Let's keep it real. I quit. Because that is dumb. And that says that nursing is not a profession concerned about the present. Umpteen people have given me this story about how I'm a threat to their organization and that they need to ensure each and every employee is going to provide patient care. So just ask me about the situation. Ask the Board of Nursing that granted me this license about the situation so that you can stay grounded in the present. Ask these organizations that I've worked for and had 0 incidents of neglect or walking off the job. But that's below these women. They would rather dig up the past and make it seem like I'm hiding something. They would rather dig up the past and make it look like I'm hiding the fact that I neglected for patients. I never neglected patients. There was a situation that kept me from caring for my patients that night. And it was a violent situation. And it was a situation that I should have took seriously. In Detroit, when somebody threatens you, they usually mean business. They usually gonna come through on that threat. I'm not about to sit around and wait. And Michigan did not have any laws to protect healthcare workers at that time from being assaulted, which is why I came to a state that has a law to protect healthcare workers from getting assaulted. Again, I did the work necessary to move forward. I proved in a variety of clinical situations that I'm not neglecting patients. I proved in a management position. I proved in a bedside position. I proved in all sorts of positions, 3 different positions over 3 years. I proved that patient neglect is not an issue. Walking off the job is not what I'm trying to do for 3 years. It's just, I cannot take the drama of nurses pretending like I'm just this horrible person for something that happened years ago. When other people around me, when other organizations around me have honored the things that I've done and have noticed that in spite of all this, I still went on to achieve great things. In spite of all this, I still went on to be nationally recognized and to be shouted out on my chapter's webpage. The International Honor Society that I belong to featured me on a website. This is not what people do when you're a bad nurse. This is not what people do when you walk off the job and neglect patients. I don't have a reputation for that. It was a one-time incident, and nurses are refusing to look at the present. They're refusing to look at the work that I've done to show and prove that that was a one-time incident. They're refusing to accept change, and instead making me out to be some monster that they deserve to harass, some monster that they deserve to demean. And I've got a fully functional nursing license that allows me to practice in over 21 states. I quit. I don't have time for that because I know who I have shown myself to be as a professional for years. I know the petty situations that women have tried to put me in to prove myself, and I'm tired of doing it. I know the gossip and the hatred that people have shown me for something that happened 2 years ago. I had a nurse tell me, "You shouldn't have walked off the job. You know better than that." Well, when somebody is threatening to kick your butt, you don't know better than nothing. You know better than to get your butt kicked. And that's the long and short of it. So until nurses are ready to, deal with the present, look at the present, tell the truth about the present, and stop making up these stories in their head about the past and how bad of a nurse I am and how I just slipped through the cracks and all this other thing, they'll see that that was a one-time incident that they need to get over. Because again, you got this nursing shortage, and here you have a nurse who has been designated as one of the best, having trouble finding jobs and having trouble keeping jobs because women want to play these facetious games, going in the past, and they nursing CSI and they the nursing Gestapo, and they gonna show you that you're just a bad nurse. If I'm a bad nurse, how did I get elected and selected to be a part of the Michigan State College of Nursing Alumni Board? I've been doing that for almost a year, almost 2 years. Make it make sense. It don't make sense. And this part of nursing makes no sense. And I'm not going to keep dealing with people who refuse to engage in the present, because that says something about your mental state. When you are able to deal with the present, stay focused on the facts, when you are realizing that people change, especially over 3 years' time, come on now, I quit. Because it don't make sense. And the way these people is harassing and carrying on and trying to paint me out to be just this horrible person is just not working for me. I have health issues that will not allow me to be in contact with anybody harassing me on my telephone, anybody digging up dirt from the past and trying to make a big deal out of the past, when I have worked hard to change the narrative. And I changed the narrative through factual interactions with patients, through positive interactions with patients, through positive interactions with nurses. And I'm not going to have a bunch of gossip-ridden nurses passing the word from each other about anything on me. I'm not going to have a bunch of nurses and nursing home administrators and people who work in the hospital passing judgment on me when I'm sitting out here not walking off the job, when I'm sitting out here providing positive patient care to the point where my performance reviews reflect that. Get out of here. Stop it. Knock it off is what I'm saying. And until these people can get their mind right and focus on the present, which shows them someone who has definitely changed, someone who is guaranteed that I know my login credential when I go to work, someone who does not escalate conflict, but who has taken efforts to learn how to manage conflict through CPI training and things like that. Get out of here. I've done the professional work to show that I have changed. And so to be dealing with a group of vigilante nurses who want to keep strumming up the past, a bunch of women who want to let me know that they in control and they ruined my nursing career years ago with the lie that got reported to the board of nursing, and to have companies out here up in the ante saying that I'm some kind of insurance threat. Get out of here. That's all psychodrama. You got the proof in your face. I practice at a hospital, I practice at a nursing home, and I practice at a home health agency without any kind of reports of patient neglect or providing poor patient care. And I've even given these jobs references where they can contact people who worked at the place to get eyewitness accounts of how I've been practicing. And they still, hell-bent on making it seem like I'm this outlaw nurse. And it has a lot to do with, like I said, the lack of professionalism that nurses are showing, the large amount of fake nursing diplomas and nursing certification that people are using. But my stuff is verified through state boards, it's verified through national nursing databases. And I'm just not the person to keep tolerating this. I quit. Because I just don't think that these people's minds are in the right place. I don't think that these people have understood what fairness is, what change is, what growth is. And that is a problem in nursing. That people are very slow to change, slow to accept the truth, slow to accept reality, and want to live in this psychodramatic world that does not exist. The world of me providing poor patient care and neglecting patient never existed. I just walked off the job to keep from getting my butt kicked. So that's the truth of it. And that's just what it is. And that is why I quit. So I hope you got a more clear explanation of what these vigilante nurses and these wild companies have been strumming up simply because of words on a piece of paper. Words on a piece of paper. Instead of making the phone call to the HR department, instead of making the phone call to my colleagues and people who verify that no, she never neglected patients since 2022. That was a one-time incident. So I'm not about to bear the burden of something that I've worked hard to change because some nurses want to have a good time playing on my phone, want to have a good time laughing and kikiing about how, my nursing license is not valid. That's dumb. I'm paying hundreds of dollars just like you. I'm going and practicing just like you. I'm learning new things and providing safe environments just like you, the nurse who might be listening to this.